I was 24 when I bought the house that would one day become my mother's favorite weapon. It stood on a quiet street in the older part of town like a wounded thing no one had bothered to notice for years, paint peeling in long, sorrowful strips, porch steps rotted soft underfoot, windows filmed with grime so thick you couldn't tell if shadows moved behind them or if the house had simply stopped breathing. The realtor kept apologizing as we walked through the dim rooms. I didn't need apologies that I needed something that was mine. My name is Harper, I would later write in the small leather journal that I kept on the nightstand, and I have learned that the things capable of breaking us are often the very things that make us impossible to break again. When I called Mom to tell her, I could hear the wooden spoon scraping the bottom of the pot, probably making chili for my younger sister, Chloe, who at 20 was still safe in the cocoon of our childhood home. "Honey, that place is a money pit," she said, voice sweet as honey and twice as sticky. "You should be investing in a man, not some condemned shack. What happens when you want to get married? No decent man wants a woman who thinks she can handle everything herself. I got it for a steal. Mom.it has good bones." That laugh, the one that always made my stomach knot like wet rope, potential to collapse on your head. "Mark my words, in 6 months you'll be begging me to bail you out." I hung up and stood on the crooked front porch, staring at the jungle that had once been a yard. Every splintered board, every cracked tile, every future month of ramen and skipped nights out belonged to me, mine. The restoration nearly undid me, not in the poetic sense. In the literal, bone-deep way, days spent in tech support, soothing angry strangers over the phone while my own voice stayed calm, nights sanding floors until my palms split open, blood smearing the oak I was trying to save. I learned to tile bathrooms from grainy YouTube videos, crying from exhaustion as I laid each piece crooked, then tore it all up and started again at 3 in the morning. No1 came. No1 brought coffee. No1 held the flashlight while I rewired outlets with shaking hands. Social media posts of progress drew careful comments from Mom. "Hope you're being safe, sweetheart," and Chloe's sharper barbs. "Still looks exactly the same as last month, lol." 3 years. 3 years of bleeding knuckles, aching spine, and the slow, astonishing discovery that I could do things no one had ever told me women like me were allowed to do. The day I carried the last box from my cramped apartment into the finished house, I sat on the porch I had rebuilt plank by plank and cried, not from grief, but from the fierce, trembling triumph of someone who has finally proven she is enough. I lived there 6 more years, planting a garden that actually gave tomatoes, building bookshelves into living room walls, designing the kitchen island with my own uncertain hands. Every improvement was a quiet vow etched into wood and plaster. I can make beauty from ruin. I can make home from nothing. When I finally saved enough for the downtown condo I'd dreamed of since college, I kept the house. It was my safety net, my proof, my monument to solitary becoming that I should have known Mom was watching. Measuring, waiting, the call came on a Tuesday evening while I was still unpacking boxes in the new place. "Harper, honey, I've been thinking about that old house of yours." "What about it?" "You're not using it anymore, are you? And Chloe's been struggling since she lost her job. She needs a fresh start, a place to really focus on getting her life together." The words landed like winter rain on bare skin. "You want me to give Chloe my house?" "Family takes care of family, Harper. You've always been the strong one. Chloe needs more right now. This would be the generous thing." I stared at my reflection in the dark window, the woman with calloused palms and tired but steady eyes. "I'll think about it." "Wonderful. I'll tell Chloe. She'll be thrilled." She hung up before I could speak again. She had never asked, she had declared. The war had begun. Brunch became the battlefield. They sat already waiting at Mom's favorite overpriced cafe, Chloe scrolling Pinterest boards of farmhouse chic, eyes bright with entitlement. Mom slid a manila folder across the table. I had some paperwork drawn up. "Simple transfer. To make it official." The documents looked almost convincing until you looked closer. White out, blue ink, formatting errors, screaming amateur forgery. My blood turned to frost. They were not asking, they were preparing to take. Months earlier I had let Chloe stay in the house, just until she gets on her feet. After her eviction, she repaid me by slowly dismantling what I had built. Grandmother's restored china cabinet, moved to storage. Address never given, antique hallway mirror, decluttered, vintage lamps vanished. Then came Mateo, her boyfriend, sprawled on my couch in boxers, eating cereal from my good bowls, leaving beer cans on the coffee table I had built from reclaimed wood. Utility bills tripled. Went unpaid. My credit bruised. The garden I had nurtured for years lay trampled and dying. I documented. I consulted Benjamin, old friend, now real estate attorney. I installed cameras. I placed the house in a living trust. The housewarming invitation arrived on Facebook. Chloe celebrating my new place. I watched from across the street as strangers carried gifts into rooms I had bled for. Inside, I reclaimed the silver necklace with the blue stone, my great-aunt Evelyn's last gift, casually given away as a family heirloom. That night I found Evelyn, 17 years erased, labeled thief, living quietly in Oregon among books and cats. That we spoke for hours. She told me everything: forged checks, stolen inheritance, a reputation destroyed to silence the one who knew too much. I made my choice, not from rage, from clarity. The transfer was legal, irrevocable. To Evelyn, the house, my money pit, my masterpiece, my battlefield, became hers. The fallout was swift and ugly: angry calls, desperate voicemails, early morning buzzing at my condo gate, extended family divided, some calling me cruel, others quietly admitting they had waited years for someone to stand up. In the end the law was clear: forged documents, fraudulent filings, trespass, theft. The county opened an investigation. Evelyn moved in slowly, carefully. She kept most of my renovations, added her own gentle touches: bookshelves in every room, a small herb garden, wind chimes that sang softly in the evening breeze. One late autumn afternoon I stood on that porch again. The light was on, even though it was still day. Evelyn's small habit, a signal that someone was home and glad for visitors. She opened the door before I could knock, silver hair loose, eyes bright. When she saw me: "You came. I brought the last things you asked for." We sat at the kitchen table I had once cried over while learning to grout. The silence between us was the kind two people share when the hardest truths have already been spoken. After some time Evelyn said, "I planted tulips along the side path, red and white, that they'll come up in spring." I smiled. "They'll look beautiful. I kept your garden beds the way you made them, only added herbs that I like the smell when I brush past." "I'm glad." She reached across the table and covered my hand with hers. "You gave me more than a house, Harper. You know that, don't you?" My throat tightened. I nodded. "I know what it feels like to have everything taken and be told it was never yours. Now I wake up every morning in a place that is mine, not borrowed, not stolen, mine, because of you." Outside, the evening lights softened, the neighborhood quieted. Eventually I stood. "I should go. Early day tomorrow." Evelyn walked me to the door. "Will you come again?" I looked back at the woman who had once been erased from every family story, now standing in full soft light in the home I had fought for and then chosen to release. "Whenever you want me." She smiled, eyes shining. "Then come for Thanksgiving. I'll make your grandmother's stuffing, the real way. Extra sage." I laughed, light, surprised, new in my chest. "I'll bring the wine." I stepped off the porch, walked down the path I had once laid brick by brick, past the tulip beds waiting for spring. The gate clicked shut behind me, soft, satisfied, final. Behind me the house stood as it always had, solid, scarred, loved, reclaimed, but it was no longer a battlefield. It was someone's home again, and somewhere inside my chest, the last small knot of grief and anger finally loosened. Not because everything was forgiven, not because the family was repaired, but because I had chosen what to keep, what to release, and where to place my heart. When the fighting was finally done, I drove away under the first stars, and for the first time in many years the silence in the car felt like peace instead of absence. That was where the story ended, not with fireworks, not with apologies that never arrived, just with a key passed from one scarred hand to another, tulips promised for spring, and two women who had both been broken by the same family, finally allowed to heal in the same quiet, stubborn light.